So you just got orders to Beaufort, South Carolina. Chances are the last time you've been here was probably never or X amount of years ago for a military graduation or family day. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that you should know about to prepare yourself for the move to have a smooth transition to our area. My name is Elaina Suslick. I am a military spouse and local realtor serving the Beaufort County area, and I'm so excited to share some things that I've learned since living here since 2020. Let's dive right in. Obviously, the first step in moving anywhere is figuring out where you want to be. So if you're trying to be as close to the Beaufort Air Station and Parris Island, you're gonna wanna live right in Beaufort. A second option, and this is always a big question I get, is you could live in Bluffton. And the question I get is, should I live in Beaufort or should I live in Bluffton? So let's talk about Bluffton first. So your drive from Bluffton to Parris Island or the Beaufort Air Station are gonna be very similar. You're probably looking at about 30 minutes minimum in the mornings and evenings. You're gonna have more traffic living in Bluffton. But the reason a lot of people actually choose to move and live in Bluffton is because of the proximity to entertainment, restaurants, Sam's Club, that's a big one because I live in Beaufort and I always commute to go to Sam's Club. So again, the reason that people choose to live in Bluffton versus Beaufort is because of the convenience factor. Now that's not to say that living in Beaufort is all that boring either. Living in Beaufort, you just have a slower paced type of lifestyle. So instead, like let's say in Bluffton, instead of going to to a golf course or instead of going to a bowling alley, instead in Beaufort, you're probably gonna be more focused on getting outside. Instead of going to the bowling alley, you're gonna go on the Spanish Moss Trail. Instead of going to the movie theater in Bluffton, you're gonna go to Hunting Island State Park Beach. So that's just kind of a general gist. You're gonna have a slower paced type of lifestyle living in Beaufort rather than living in Bluffton. And so another big deciding factor is if you have kids. And so we're gonna talk about the school systems next and what you can expect from Beaufort school systems, what you can expect from Bluffton school systems, and we're really just gonna talk about the rankings. So the second thing that you need to know before you make the move to the area is if you have kids, this is gonna be huge for you. You have to figure out where you're gonna be sending your kids to school. This goes hand in hand in deciding whether you wanna live in Bluffton versus living in Beaufort. And so the information I'm getting today is taken from usnews.com. Our number 1 elementary school is located in Beaufort at Coosaw Elementary School, located on Ladies Island. Our number 1 middle school is located at Riverview Charter School. This is also located in Beaufort. And lastly, this one's the really important one. If you have high school age kids, our top 3 high schools that are ranked 1, 2, and 3, those are all gonna be located in Bluffton and Hilton Head. That all being said, what I see most is most families with kids within pre-K to 5th grade, they're gonna more gravitate towards staying in Beaufort. However, when you have middle school and high school age kids, I do see that more people actually tend to gravitate towards living in Bluffton just because of the higher ranked schools are located over there. All right, so the third thing you should know before making the move here is you gotta figure out, okay, you figured out whether you wanna live in Beaufort versus Bluffton. Next, you gotta figure out, do I wanna live on base or do I wanna live off base? So this always opens up a can of worms. I think that's the same case no matter where you're stationed at. This is always a big debate. But starting first, let's talk about the numbers. The numbers for living on base, specifically talking about living on Laurel Bay. If you go live on Laurel Bay, you're gonna have a better monthly payment, especially because your BAH, if you're living in the brick houses on Laurel Bay, your BAH is covered through living there, and then you're also getting back pay. But the reason that you're getting back pay for living in the brick houses on Laurel Bay is because of a maintenance thing. So the brick houses on Laurel Bay are older, they need more maintenance, and that's why people get back pay from living on Laurel Bay in the brick houses. So another option too, you can live in Freedom Sound, which is newer homes, but they're townhomes. So again, let's just take it back to the numbers. the numbers of living on base make more sense from a month-to-month basis. You're gonna have a lower cost of living versus buying a house and assuming a mortgage at a 6 to 7% interest rate, which is just what we're seeing right now. So if you really had to ask me, I would say, like, if you're coming to Beaufort and your plan or your orders are just putting you here for a year, maybe 2 years, it probably makes a lot more sense to go live on base. However, if you're gonna be here for 3 years minimum, that gives you 3 years where you can live in a house, be paying a mortgage, and by the time you move on to your next duty station, you can probably keep that house and rent it out and still be able to purchase your next house going to your next duty station. So wrapping it up, here's the thing about living on base. You're gonna have a better monthly payment. You're not gonna be paying as much if you were to go buy a house. However, the catch-22 to that is you're gonna be living with on-base housing standards. And if you were to pay a little bit extra per month for buying a house off base, you're gonna be making more equity on, paying something for your own instead of paying rent. And you're gonna be able to choose the house where you want to live in. So you oftentimes are gonna be paying extra to buy a house, but that probably means that you're gonna have a better standard of living on a month-to-month basis. Wrapping it up, if you live on base, you're gonna have a better monthly payment versus living off base if you were to go buy a house or rent an apartment off base. You're gonna see higher payments on this end of the spectrum. However, on the Laurel Bay or Freedom Sound or Paris Island based housing portion of things, you're gonna be paying less over here, but if you pay a little bit more every month for something off base, there's a big chance that you're gonna see the quality of living difference. And so that's just something that I tell people, like, if you can afford to live off base, and especially if you buy a house off base and live there for 3 years, it gives you a lot more opportunity to pay for something that's your own. And if you go and PCS in 3 years after buying that house, chances are you're gonna be breaking even, if not making money off the sale of that house. Or you can take that house, which you're probably gonna have a pretty good monthly payment on after 3 years of rent appreciation in our area, and you're gonna be able to rent out that house and then go buy your second house or third house at your next duty station while making some money from your rental house here in Beaufort. So, like I said, it's really a catch-22. It depends on how long you want to live in, or how long your orders are to keep you in Beaufort. It depends on your long-term goals. Like, if you want to get into real estate investing, probably makes more sense for you to buy a house off base. So again, it really just depends on what kind of life and lifestyle you want to live here. Thanks for sticking with me. We're on to number 4, the fourth thing that you should know before you move to Beaufort, South Carolina. You should know about the cost of living here. On a national average, we are right below the national average, which is great. However, on a state of South Carolina average, we are above average. We're above average for housing, food, healthcare, and transportation. So that's gonna be higher than most other towns within South Carolina. And if you're comparing it to different duty stations as well, I would have to say that our cost of living in Beaufort is definitely gonna be higher than other duty stations that you've been. Last one, the 5th thing that you should know before you move to our area. If you're living in Beaufort or Bluffton, there are certain things, as is everywhere, where locals are gonna gravitate towards. So if you're living in Beaufort, the things that locals gravitate towards have to be, number 1, Hunting Island State Park Beach. This is my personal favorite, and it's actually, it's March 8th today. So we're finally getting to beach weather. It was in the 70s this week, or we were starting to hit the 70s consistently. So we're gonna start to see a lot more people start going to the beach. Another thing, or another place that people really gravitate towards in our Beaufort area is Shell Ring Ale Works. And so this is located right on the Port Royal Sound, and it's a awesome little brewery. Honestly, every time I go there, I probably bump into at minimum 5 people I know. So depending on whoever is watching this video, that could be a great thing, or it could be a not so great thing. Lastly, another Beaufort favorite of mine is the Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park. This is located in downtown Beaufort. It's a very nice strip of, walking. There's a park, there's a lot of local shopping and dining down there, and it's all on the waterfront. Who doesn't love water? So that's my Beaufort favorites, and next I'll talk about my Bluffton favorites. We already talked about this a little bit in the beginning. People gravitate towards Bluffton because you have more entertainment and convenience and things to do. So personally, when I go to Bluffton, I love going to the bowling alley or going to the movie theater because we don't really have too much of that here in Beaufort. Another thing I absolutely love about Bluffton is Old Town Bluffton. That's their historic district there. I love exploring it there. You have tons of beautiful architecture. You have the community boat launch and boat landing there. I love going there and walking along the waterfront. And they also have Bluffton Farmers Market there. So, those are my two favorite things once I go over to Bluffton. I also really love going to Sam's Club, but if you live in Bluffton, that's probably not gonna draw you towards, locals things to do. That's just like me that loves to go there. Those were the 5 things that you should know about before PCSing to Beaufort. You should know whether you want to live in Beaufort versus Bluffton. You should know whether you want to live on base or off base. You should know that the cost of living in Beaufort is a little bit on the higher side. You should know some locals things to do in the area, and you should also know about our school systems in the area. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am always here if you have any questions, and I hope you have a fabulous day, weekend, or whatever. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a fabulous whatever.